Hey friends, it's Mrs. Pinnell, and today I wanted to show you how to create a drawing in 1-point perspective, and we're going to give this drawing some feelings like it's an impressionist painting, even though we're not going to use supplies that might make it more of an impressionist painting. So we're going to use some tricks to make it look like that style while also just using what we have. So 1-point perspective is about tricking the eye into thinking that things are actually going back further into space, when really we're just going to be making a drawing on a 2D piece of paper. So what we're going to start with for our 1-point perspective drawing is a horizon line. And the horizon line is where the sky is going to be meeting the ground. And your horizon line does not have to be perfectly straight because the ground is not always flat. I'm starting in pencil just to get an idea of what I want to create, and then I'm going to go over in some crayon here in a little bit. So I've got my horizon line. This is called a vanishing point. That is the point on my horizon line where everything's going to look like it is disappearing to. So in real life, there is a vanishing point in the real world, but it's not a dot on a paper. There is a point out there, if you're able to look far enough away, where everything like roads and trees that are growing in a row, they might look like they're going toward that as they get further away, but it's not an actual dot like this. So you're gonna need a ruler for this, and what you're going to do is you're going to start, when I'm using a ruler, I like to spread my fingers out on the ruler. This would be even better, and keep your fingers away from the edge so that you don't make bumps. And what I like to do is I like to start at my vanishing point, touch the ruler to to my pencil, and then I like to draw my line. So I find the vanishing point, put my pencil on the vanishing point, and then I rotate. See, when my hand is wide like this, I can rotate the ruler back and forth pretty easily. So I'm going to rotate and draw a line. Now these lines are called converging lines, and that means that they're all going toward the same vanishing point. My ruler's a little bit too big for the space that I have to draw in here, but I think I can make it work. Okay. So I'm gonna I really want to do another one. I'm not sure I have enough space though. I'm gonna try to go the other way real quick. I would do maybe 3 or 4 lines, but you might spread them out a little bit more than I did. I'll spread mine out a little bit more on this side of the paper so you can see what that might look like. So pencil on the vanishing point, make the ruler match. Sorry that I'm moving the camera. Set this up in a very strange spot here to where I don't have enough space. Okay, here we go. Last one. Let's make sure I can get to the vanishing point there and then draw the line. All right, so now this might look like a bunch of roads going back to the same spot, and that's kind of what it should look like for now. I'm sorry, this is just really going to bother me if I have all this empty space over here. I've got to make it a little bit more even. So I'm going to draw one more here and one more over here. What I'm going to do next to make this look kind of like an impressionist style painting is I am going to trace over all of these lines with crayon, and then I'm going to start adding some details with crayon as well that will help it look like kind of some blobs of paint or dashes of paint, and I'm going to use some watercolor or some marker paint over the top of that to fill in the rest of the space. I think before I do that though, I'm going to maybe add a tree here in the background, hoping to make it kind of a spooky tree, like a fall leafless kind of scary tree. And you can add whatever you want to add in your background as well. Just keep in mind whatever is in the background is farthest away, so you don't want to do anything super big. And if you're gonna make something that is not on the horizon line, like if I were to put a house up here, it would look like that house was floating. So you need to make sure that whatever you're gonna draw is touching the horizon line. I think I'm okay with that one tree. I would like to draw more, but I don't want to waste your time having you sit here and watch me draw trees. So I'm gonna pause the video for just a minute. I'm gonna step away, get some crayons, and trace all of these lines in. Actually, I'm just gonna use whatever colors I feel like. So it's gonna be a little bit bright and vibrant, but you can catch up to this point and then get some crayons together, and I will see you back soon. Alrighty, so I just took simple crayons and I drew right over my pencil lines, and I used basically just the primary and secondary colors. I don't know if you can tell the difference on your screen. This one's a little bit more blue and this one's a little bit more purple. And I just did that because that's what I wanted to do. If you wanted to make yours a little more realistic and you wanted to make these fields of crops, or if you wanted to make them green like rows of grass, you could totally do something like that as well. You have those freedoms of choice in your artwork, and that's called using your creative license. So now what we're all going to do, whether we're using more natural colors or more vibrant colors, we're gonna use the crayons to make little dashes, and this is going to represent kind of that painterly style of impressionist artists. So I don't want these lines to be exactly in a row. I want them to be kind of all over the place, but all going the same direction away from the vanishing point. So this helps create that illusion that everything's getting further away as well. And you'll notice that there's still, sorry about the bumping of the camera there, you'll notice that there's still quite a bit of white in the background, and that's okay. We're gonna leave it there for just a little bit. That's what we're gonna fill in with the watercolors or the marker paints. So the one thing I do want to tell you before I finish this up off camera is if you use a white crayon in the sky, or you could use it down below as well, but if you do a good solid pressure and some swirling lines, you can represent those sort of the wind kind of appearance that Van Gogh creates in Starry Night. You can also, if this were a nighttime setting, you could add stars and the little dashes around like he created in Starry Night, Vincent Van Gogh, created in Starry Night. You could certainly do that as well. Or if it were daytime, you could do that with a sunshine. So this is a way that you could create that impressionist sort of style in your own artwork with simple supplies, and it's going to look really great at the end. So I'm going to keep going with more white swirls and some more little dashes of white and probably some yellows and oranges, and then I will come back and talk to you about adding the paint. Alrighty friends, so I went ahead and finished up my lines. I can see right now that I missed a row right here, so I'm going to go ahead and add that in. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to be using watercolors, and remember, if you do not have watercolors at home, you can use just some markers and some water, and you can put a little bit of marker on your paper and then put water over it, or you could find some plastic, like a plastic bag, or even some aluminum foil, and you can color with marker on the aluminum foil or the plastic, and then put a little drip of water on it and stir it around, and it becomes kind of like washable paint. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to start, I have my cup of water over here. I'm going to start by putting just a little bit of water on the area that I'm going to paint to make it a wet on wet painting, which means the paper is wet and then what I'm painting with is going to be wet. I'm going to drip a little bit of water into the watercolor that I'm going to use, and then I'm going to stir it around. I'm actually going to get another couple of drips. I want to make a little puddle in there. I don't want to flood it. I don't want it all coming out of the little oval, just a little puddle. And then when I paint on that area that I just got wet with water, it kind of blends that paint down, makes a really nice, colorful area. I could paint the same colors on the crayon like I just did right there, or if I want to, I can switch it up a little bit. So I'm going to, I kind of got some of my, I'm gonna slide this down a little bit. I got some of my paint from my paint tray on my yellow spot there, but that's okay. I'm going to, let's see, I think I'm gonna use green on that yellow area. So you might notice my green is a little bit lower here than my blue was, so I'm just gonna stir for a little bit longer to make that paint more liquid, make it work. And then I will start putting that green on top of that yellow. And the reason you can still see that yellow is because the wax in the crayon resists the water in the paint. So we're making a wax resist painting as well. Now I'm gonna just keep going with this. I'm gonna go ahead and do a little bit in the sky to show you what the sky might look like. My water's getting a little dirty, so I can already see kind of what's gonna happen, but I'm gonna use a little bit of purple for the sky because I want this to be kind of a night sky. And with that white crayon, it makes a very nice, it stands out and you can really see those wind swept areas. I'm gonna go ahead and fill in more with the water so I can do more wet on wet, and I'm gonna go for a little bit of blue as well. So I'm gonna mix my colors together, but I'm not mixing them in my tray of watercolor because I don't wanna ruin my paints. I'm mixing them on the paper. So I'm letting them kind of blend together on the paper, just like that. And I am using colors that live next to each other on the color wheel, or colors that are close to each other in my paint tray, so that I know they're not gonna make a brown color because I want my colors to be nice and bright. So I am just about to the end of the sky here, and I'm gonna take a little break and finish up the rest of my rows. I'm imagining these as rows of flowers, and I know they don't look like flowers because I made little dashes, but that's okay. That's just what I'm imagining them as. That's kind of what I'm creating them as. So I'm gonna finish painting those. If you're at home, it would be a great idea for you to get a messy mat or a bigger piece of paper or newspaper under there so you don't have to clean up your table or your work surface area. Make sure you're using messy mats whenever you're painting. And if you notice, like on mine right here, I have this big puddle. I'm just gonna spread that out and share it with the rest of the painting, or you could get a paper towel or a tissue and kind of blot some of that up so it doesn't leave a puddle covering any of your crayon marks. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish up my painting. I'll take a picture to post at the end, but I hope you're really enjoying your artwork and I can't wait to create with you again soon.